What's going on, guys? I'm Andrew,
I'm Jason.
and this is Movie Source.
Today we're going to be doing our movie review of Batman.
Alright, guys, we wanted to give you a little heads up. The reason we're doing Batman today is we're doing a lead up for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So what we're doing is we're reviewing the original films: Batman '89, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. Yeah. Then after that, we're going to be reviewing Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, and then Man of Steel, leading up to Batman v Superman, because unfortunately we obviously weren't around as a channel when those films came out, so we want to give our opinions on those films. Also to get you guys ready for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Alright guys, so this film was directed by Tim Burton. Now, Tim Burton had just been coming off Beetlejuice when he was going to sign on to do this film, and also Pee-wee Herman's Big Adventure, and that was in '85. Beetlejuice was 1988. So, not a very well-known director at the time. So, but again, there's no internet, so people couldn't go, too crazy on him. They didn't really have too much of an understanding of his body of work. But it was definitely an interesting choice, and very stylistic director. So I was very impressed with what he did for a third feature film. This was a very impressive job he did, and a lot of pressure to handle for himself as well. All right, so for me, this isn't the greatest movie or the greatest superhero movie even, but I grew up with this movie as a kid. I can't even count or tell you how many times I've seen this film. It's countless. I still personally love it, but also I do see now as an older, viewer, there definitely are some flaws in the film that I didn't care for, and definitely some plot details that just don't make a whole lot of sense, or fit in, rather.
I thought this movie as a whole didn't really have a whole lot of a plot.
Yeah.
It really was just Batman's here, the Joker gets created, and then they kind of go at it. Well, and that's about it.
Right, and also, but we do have to remember at the time, Batman was known for wow, Pam, Zap, and all that. So this was definitely a different take on the character. It was more of Frank Miller, The Dark Knight Returns take, and I thought that was a very bold choice because, I'm not going to say Batman was a joke, but that Zap, pow, wow, was very comical.
It's very 1950s.
Yeah, 1950s, 1960s, but I love the dark tone and the dark take they took on the character.
Well, yeah, I thought Tim Burton was a nice choice to direct this movie. It definitely had a very Tim Burton feel of a movie, but he kind of took it a little more seriously than some of his other movies.
Yeah, no, for sure, but I'd say we'll get into it, but Batman Returns had way more of a Tim Burton feel in this film, but definitely you could feel Tim Burton, vibe for sure in this film. Yeah. Absolutely.
You can see his fingerprints on the movie.
Absolutely. And also, just like we said, this movie got comic book movies back, on track from at least, my stance, because, up until that point, I think the last film before that was Superman 4. The Quest for Peace. So, superhero films were kind of ended on a sour note right there. And, Batman '89 kind of revitalized the superhero
really,
genre.
It had just been Superman kind of carrying the torch for all these superhero movies. There weren't that many others. Right,
but again, that was the last, superhero film, big superhero film at the time, which was not a very good film at all.
Yeah.
But, Batman '89 just, again, helped revitalize the superhero genre at the time, and it made a whole lot of money. So first we want to talk about the characters. Let's go into Michael Keaton as Batman. You got to first understand, Michael Keaton, when he was announced as Batman, there's no internet at the time, as we mentioned earlier. It's 1989. People were freaking out when they found out Mr. Mom was Batman or Beetlejuice was Batman. They couldn't believe it. They were sending petitions and letters to Warner Brothers saying, recast, this guy cannot play Batman. So, and Warner Brothers, basically, they had to immediately make a trailer to show people this guy can play Batman. When they showed, the first trailer for this film, everyone shut up and, bought that this man was Batman. And for me personally, before we even go into anything, Michael Keaton, so far, I haven't seen Batman v Superman, not yet. But so far, he's my personal favorite Batman. That doesn't mean he's the best Batman, but me personally, in my opinion, he's my favorite Batman that I've seen on film.
I thought he did a good job. I don't know if I could say if he's my favorite, but he was very believable as Batman himself. As Bruce Wayne, he wasn't really my favorite, but I thought he did an adequate job, but just not great. But as Batman, he definitely did a good job. He had a nice voice. His action moves were all, believable.
Well, I'm glad you pointed out Bruce Wayne. Notice I didn't say he was my favorite Bruce Wayne. I said he was my favorite Batman. He's my second favorite Bruce Wayne. We'll get into when we talk about the Christopher Nolan. Christian Bale was my favorite Batman. Was my favorite Bruce Wayne by far. But getting back onto this
Those
film,
movies, just to say, had a lot more Bruce Wayne in them. You know what I mean?
Which is literally what I was just about to say. We didn't really get too much of Michael Keaton as... That's one thing I would have loved in the two Michael Keaton films. I'm not saying less Batman or anything, but just a few more Michael Keaton scenes, just so we can understand.
Just to develop that character a little bit
absolutely.
more. You don't really, even in this movie, from the very beginning, he's already Batman. You don't really, you see his backstory where his parents get killed and all that, but they really don't develop. I did like
that a lot.
They really don't develop the character all that much. He kind of just already Batman from the start. You don't really learn anything about him.
But just to add on to what you're saying, even though they did not go into a ton of character development as Bruce Wayne, that backstory with, obviously, most comic book fans, but not the general going eyes, knew that Bruce Wayne's parents had been murdered, and that's what led him to start his war on crime in Gotham City. Mm-hmm. But again, I love how they showed it. Showing his parents getting killed. I love visual exposition, and I thought that just was very.
Yeah, it was just like a quick flashback, but just the whole cinematic feel of it. You definitely got the sense it was a flashback.
But yeah, again, as I was pointing out, even though there's not a ton of character development in Bruce Wayne, just that one scene just made me understand and buy into why he this millionaire in this film, he's not a billionaire Bruce Wayne, but a millionaire, why this millionaire man risks his life every night and dresses up like that makes total sense. That scene showed me why right there. And again, it's not Michael Keaton's fault, but again, I just wish he would have gotten a few more scenes as Bruce Wayne, just like you said, get a little more character development. Also, would have liked him to see him in a few more scenes with other people other than the main supporting characters, because that's one thing Christian Bale got to do in the Christopher Nolan. He got to interact with random characters and be a facade, be a fake character, because Bruce Wayne was his mask. Batman is who he really is.
Right. So,
I just would have liked a couple more of those scenes. That's just more of, kind of like, more nitpicking than something I despised on the film. Mm-hmm. So, but Michael Keaton killed it, and he's my personal favorite Batman. So loved him. And as you said, his Batman voice so far has been my personal favorite. It was very subtle, and you couldn't fully tell, oh, that's Michael Keaton. But you can't tell it's Michael Keaton, but it's very subtle.
You just can't tell that he's Bruce Wayne.
There you go. That perfectly
did what he needed to do. Didn't go over the top, but just masked it so that nobody knows
it didn't go over the top, but it was still scary and fearful.
It was scary, but it wasn't Christian Bale's over the top Batman voice.
Yeah, it wasn't Christian Bale where he sounds like Clint Eastwood on throat cancer. No, I feel you. But I will say this, so that first scene where he's grabbing the guy and he's saying, I want you to tell your friends about me, and then I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
His voice just really perfectly nailed and sold it for me. And
was that the first "I'm Batman" line?
As far as I remember, that
started the string of "I'm Batman" lines.
Right. Well, there's only been 2 so far of those "I'm Batman," but that was the first one. That's correct.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
All right. Next character we want to talk about is the great Laker fan Jack Nicholson. Yeah, go Lakers. The great Laker fan Jack Nicholson. I mean, I can't really think of many movies where I can say, I didn't like Jack Nicholson in that movie. That was a terrible performance by Jack. I don't want to compare performances, but obviously this came way before Heath Ledger's Joker. Mm-hmm. Jack Nicholson, to me, his look, he looks like the Joker out of the comics. You just look at him, you're like, that's the Joker, just looking at the guy. I mean, in his performance, he was so maniacal. He was evil. Yeah, he was evil for sure. I mean, he tried to kill all those people with the gas balloons. I mean, he's evil.
You can see that he likes to kill and just makes him happy when all these people are dying.
Well, also too, I love the character development, because when he's Jack Napier in the film, you can tell he idolizes Jack Palance's character, Carl Grissom. Mm-hmm. Even though he's kind of fearful of him, but even though he's screwing his girl, but you can tell he does idolize him. He wants to be him.
He wants to be
the main boss. But that's why he idolizes him, because he wants to be him.
Right.
And the point I'm making is, he can't let out what he wants to let out until he becomes the Joker. When he falls into that vat of chemicals, it's like a pure alcoholic drunk rage for him. He's just being who he is now fully, and he loves it. He just and you can tell Jack Nicholson is having a lot of fun in this performance. And
Oh yeah,
he just again he's just I love. Again, I don't want to compare. I love both of them so much, so equally. They're both such phenomenal performances.
being Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I'm talking about Jack and Heath Ledger. Don't want to get into the comparison game too much, but just Jack Nicholson he's the Joker. Just looking at him.
Well, for me, this movie almost was more about the Joker than it was about Batman. You see the entire origin story. You see him before he was a Joker. You see him become the Joker. You see him when he is the Joker. He's the one who gets all the character development in this movie.
Yeah, I feel you, but I could also make that case for The Dark Knight that film was more about the Joker. But
you definitely could say that.
I totally get.
But that's also the second film after you had the entire backstory of Batman and Batman Begins.
Touche. Very good point. Absolutely, you're right. This film definitely needed to establish, but we also have to understand too. Jack Nicholson is the way bigger star than Michael Keaton at the time.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying he's the one who kind of gets all this, development treatment,
I agree with you. That should have been more Bruce Wayne development over Joker. But the scenes we did get of the Joker character,
he was amazing. It was great.
It was really good.
I loved all the I loved Jack Nicholson as a Joker. I loved what they did with the Joker and how he was.
And his laugh too as the Joker.
It was great.
He just nailed it too. And also they changed the comics, they changed the story around from the comics. In the comics, Joe Chill, who also in Batman Begins, Joe Chill killed Bruce Wayne's parents. In this film, they wanted to make it more of a revenge type film. They changed it to where Jack Napier rather, not later becomes the Joker. He kills Bruce Wayne's parents, and we see that through that flashback we were talking about earlier.
And he says that line.
Yeah. Well, tell me, do you ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight? Mm-hmm. And then I remember that triggered a memory of his, because that's the man who murdered my parents. So that was very, very interesting take how they changed that around. I'm not saying that filmmakers always have to copy comics, but that was definitely a totally different take.
It worked for the movie. It made the movie storyline kind of come together where Batman realizes that, wow, I hate this person even more now.
Well, not only that, it's you turned me into Batman. I turned you into the Joker. It's you made me become me. And now I make you become you. It's just I thought that was an interesting take on it. Again, it was more of a revenge. It's you could definitely feel the revenge plot of it. But again,
I kill you.
Yeah, but and I understood where Batman was coming from really, but just. I thought Batman Begins nailed it, where it's not about revenge, it's about justice. So, I've never had my parents slaughtered in front of me, so I can only imagine what Bruce Wayne's going through. But I thought that was a little bit of a character, flaw a little bit, Batman wanting revenge, and I understood why. It made total sense.
Well, that's something that you had mentioned to me that you didn't like about this movie, was that Batman was actually a killer in this movie.
Oh man, that's one thing that really bothered me in this film, as you just pointed out. Batman is a straight up murderer in this movie. I mean, you got scenes of him where he's trying to take out the Joker with missiles and an automatic machine guns and his bat in the Batwing, and then you actually see him killing Joker's henchmen. He's firing rocket launchers and just gunning them down. I'm like, Jesus, dude, this guy's a murderer. Why isn't he just beating the crap out of them, or firing suppressor nets at them or something like that? I'm like, this is a major character flaw. He's just murdering people. He should be going to prison for this. This is not bad. I mean, again, he's dressed like Batman, he talks like Batman, but Batman does not murder like that. I mean,
if he can help it.
Yeah, again, even the scene where he beats up the guy who's beating the absolute crap out of him, he straight up just murders him. He's the world's greatest detective. He can figure out some kind of way to incapacitate whatever the villain or enemy is. So that was something that really bothered me, and I really wish Tim Burton and the writer Sam Hamm would have, changed that around and not made Batman a killer. And again, we're going to talk about that in Batman Returns. Just a straight up murderer. So, and again, he wanted to murder Joker, and at the end, you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? And he just punches him over the thing. He's a murderer. I mean, am I calling it wrong, or do you agree?
No, that's exactly
okay.
And
again, I still said he's my personal favorite Batman so far. I'm pretty sure Ben Affleck's going to take over that, but I mean, again, I'll judge that after I see the film. But it was a real thing that bothered. It's just I can't explain how much it bothered me. I really upset how much they made him a murderer. I mean, because Batman is about justice. He's not about murder. He's not about revenge. So just really, really ticked me off. And it's something that really, doesn't make the film. It's not a nitpick, just a major flaw. And not in the film, but
It's a character flaw.
I personally enjoyed the performance by Kim Basinger. You know, she does a really good job. As the character of Vicky Vale, I just didn't care for how they made her such a damsel in distress. Like, how many times did Batman have to save her in the film, right?
A good amount. She was just kind of there. She didn't, I mean, she was supposed to be investigating all these crimes and Batman and all that, but she just was kind of hanging around and then just made herself available to be kidnapped.
Yeah, so I felt like they could have made the character a little, you know, I'm not saying stronger physically, I just think they could have made the character do other things rather than just take some pictures and get caught. I just felt she was a very one-dimensional character. Not Kim Basinger does what she's supposed to do. She plays the role how she's supposed to. But I just felt like they could have done a little better job with that character in particular. We got to mention Michael Gough as Alfred. I love Michael Caine as Alfred, but I just grew up with Michael Gough as Alfred. This guy is again. Michael Caine is still.
He was the one present in all the Batman films.
Yeah, I know that's a good point. I know we're playing the comparison game between Michael Caine and Michael Gough. They're actually good friends, by the way, or were, because Michael Gough unfortunately passed away a few years back. Mm-hmm. But Michael Gough, he's so sweet. He's so kind. He's so loving.
He's just what I picture when I think of Alfred. He is Alfred.
I completely agree. He's Alfred. And you feel the love he has for Bruce. Like, Bruce is like his child, basically.
Pretty much.
And he would do anything to protect him, and just
you can feel.
And the chemistry between Michael Keaton and Michael Gough, it's fantastic. Like, you really feel like they've known each other for many years, and he's taken care of him throughout his life, and then he believes in this mission that he fights this war on crime. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously he kind of betrayed his trust a little when he brought Vicky Vale in the Batcave. But obviously, I will say, it's always funny how
one thing that I thought when I watched this movie was like, she just kind of walks in like, how did
I will say, no, I agree with you, that was random, but Michael Keaton or Bruce Wayne told Alfred earlier in the film he was going to confess to her that he was Bruce Wayne, and he was about to before Joker rang the doorbell in that one scene where Batman is at Vicky Vale's apartment. So that's the only defense I would give Alfred, but I agree, that was completely ridiculous.
It was just random. Like, wait, how did she get in here? I thought it was supposed to be a secret.
Yeah, Alfred you just let her in the Batcave, Alfred? Dang, it's supposed to be a secret, no? Okay. Yeah. But other than that, you know, that's more of a nitpick, obviously, but Michael Gough, just in all four films, and we'll talk about his performance in all four films, even Batman and Robin, he's like the only thing I like in that film, which we'll get into.
Oh, you don't like Arnold?
Arnold's my favorite. Arnold's my favorite actor, and no, not even in that movie. Okay, but getting back on this point, Michael Gough just nailed it. He's Alfred to me. I just love his performance.
Totally agree.
Okay, now really quickly, we want to get to Robert Wuhl. He played Alexander Knox. I feel like they were trying to go more of a love triangle, you know, with this character with Bruce Wayne and Vicky Vale.
I feel like he was just kind of like the comedic relief. He was just there to kind of...
No, I meant like more initially. It felt like they were trying to go for more of a love triangle, but they didn't. There was none of that.
He wanted to get with Vicky Vale, but she didn't want to get with him.
Yeah, I know, but I just...
Not much of a triangle.
No, I know. I'm talking about the filmmakers are trying to allude like there could be a possible love triangle here, and then it was just like, oh, he's just off to the side. Like you said, he's the comic relief, and... One thing also I gotta say that bothered me about Knox and this whole movie. Nobody in this movie knew that Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered. They're reporters, and you don't know that one of the most famous people in the city's parents were murdered? Yeah. I just felt that was weird. A little bit weird.
Like we said, this movie has its problems.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, that doesn't make it a bad movie because they didn't know that his parents were. It's just there's a lot of flaws in this.
It's just a small plot hole. It's not like, you know, devastating, but it's just there. It's all good.
It just that bothered me that he had no idea about that. I just felt like some of the characters in this film were a little clueless
and just a little bit useless as well. Just like if he wasn't in the movie at all, this movie would be the exact same movie, just about. You know, just without a few one-liners.
Yeah, but still, I love Robert Wuhl. He still
I like the actor. He did a good job.
Yeah, he still gave a good performance. We just didn't care that much for the character. And actually, originally the character was to be killed, but they kept the character in at the very last second. So that's what Tim Burton said, at least. Mm-hmm. Anyways, moving on, we want to talk about Pat Hingle, who played Commissioner Gordon. I thought out of all four films, this is the most by far that they used Commissioner Gordon. Obviously, in the Christopher Nolan series, it's where they truly use the character the right way.
Right.
I mean, because Commissioner Gordon is a huge part of Batman. He's Batman's, silent partner in crime, basically. Yeah. You know,
in this movie, he's just kind of there also. Like, he's the police commissioner, but he doesn't really do much.
I did like the aspect because you know, the police don't really know much about Batman. I did like the aspect of him hunting the Batman, even though we don't get a lot of, we're like obsessed, we're going after this guy, but he definitely was on the hunt because he said, you know, until we keep a lid on, or until we find out more about this guy, keep a lid on. Yeah, because they were definitely on the hunt for Batman. So I thought that aspect was cool of it, but as you said, we need more Commissioner Gordon. Like, he is such a pivotal role in the comic book series. I understood why for a first film, excuse me, I understood why for a first film, you know, they might have wanted to put a little more of the focus on Batman and Joker. I get it. But you have to understand, Commissioner Gordon is just such a pivotal role in the Batman comics.
Yeah, like you said, he's his partner in crime. He kind of
silent partner in crime.
Silent partner, but I mean, still his partner.
The look of the city, it just felt like Gotham City, that gothic feel to it, you know, and also the dark feel of the city. And also, I just loved seeing so many people all around the city, because when we talk about Batman Begins, we're going to talk about how you basically hardly ever see people in the city in that film. So I just thought Tim Burton did a great job infusing the citizens into the city and really making it feel like this is a humongous city that Batman has to fight a war on crime in.
Yeah.
So, and also we got to mention the Batmobile, obviously. I mean, to me, I feel like the Batmobile is a character in this movie.
It's just like that classic Batmobile.
I love this Batmobile so much. Now, I heard it's a very difficult car to drive in person, but just the visual style on this car, I forgot the guy who made this. Me personally, it's my favorite Batmobile so far.
Also the first Batmobile you're.
Yeah, I think that's a very good reason why. But so far it's been, and I love the Tumbler in the Nolan series, and I love the look of the new Batmobile and Batman v Superman. So I'll mention my thoughts on that, but I just love this Batmobile. The look of it is so, as you said, classic.
And just its role too, like it has all those shields, it has the guns, it has the auto drive. It kind of like, you know, makes a decoy in that one scene. But yeah. Oh, and then how it can in the next movie, how it can like split into that. Yeah, no, we'll get to that then. But the Batmobile is such a great character in this film. It's kind of like, I'm not going to compare it to the Millennium Falcon, but like it's a vehicle. It's an iconic vehicle.
It's an iconic vehicle and it's a character. Yep. So absolutely. Also, we'd be very foolish not to mention, this is my personal favorite Batman score ever. Danny Elfman of Oingo Boingo. Basically, Tim Burton found it. He loved his band Oingo Boingo, as we just mentioned, and he just told this guy, I want you to be my composer on Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. Then tried him out again on Beetlejuice. Both phenomenal scores, may I add. Yeah. Then for this film, originally he was to have John Williams do it. John Williams was busy with a little film called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and that was in 1989. And basically, John wanted to do it, but couldn't. His hands were tied with that, so they got Danny Elfman to do it. I love this score. Also, I think we got to talk a little about Prince. Also,
yeah, now, Prince had a couple songs in this movie. Just they kind of tacked him on. I feel like just to bring them
not on the movie, in the movie, right? Yeah. I mean, like literally in scenes, like you had his like they're playing.
Yeah, like the scene where Joker's just dancing down the street, just like
he's dancing on the street with the 200th anniversary on the birthday, but he's dancing in the museum. That kind of took me out of it when he was just dancing around.
It was the Joker being wacky and like that's kind of how they pictured the Joker. But yeah, like I know, but it wasn't my favorite.
Me picturing the Joker as wacky is not him dancing to Prince. That's just me. I don't know.
Nothing against Prince. I definitely like Prince,
I love Prince.
But these songs for this movie didn't exactly fit.
Absolutely, they were good songs. I just didn't feel like they fit in not in a Batman movie. Yeah. Absolutely, good songs, just not in a Batman movie. All right, so final thoughts from me. I still love this movie. It's still a very nostalgic film for me. I grew up with this film. As I said, I've seen it probably over 75 to 100 times. Probably, I don't even know. I've seen it so many times. There's definitely a few flaws in it, as Batman being a murderer, as we said earlier. Some of the characters being so clueless. A few scenes like that and some other plot holes and some other issues, character flaws. But I still love this movie. I grew up with it and I will continue to watch it. And again, like I said, it changed the superhero genre at that time. Was on a major low at that time. So for me personally, I'm giving this film an 8.1 out of 10.
I definitely like this movie. I feel like a lot of it kind of relies on a little bit of the Batman nostalgia. Like you said, it has its holes, but it's also, was one of the first movies to kick off that superhero genre again. I personally am going to give it a 7 out of 10. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this video. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this movie, so let us know in the comments below. As we said, we're going to be reviewing all the Batman movies leading up to Batman v Superman as well as Man of Steel. So if you want to see all those videos as well as our other past reviews, you can hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time. Now, I believe that Sean Young was supposed to play the role of Vicky Vale, and she got actually hurt in a horse accident. Her and Michael Keaton were rehearsing for a horse scene, and actually Alfred talks about that horse, right? He talks about when Vicky and Bruce are on their first date. He's talking about a horse riding lesson with Bruce Wayne, and then Bruce like fell, and he never gave him a lesson. That was actually about Sean Young. She fell off the horse, got hurt, could not be in this movie, and then they had to go to one of the producers, John Peters, his girlfriend at the time, Kim Basinger, so they hired her for this film. So I thought that was interesting how she got the role. Getting it back onto point, it's like Antoine Saint, he actually unfortunately committed suicide right after making this movie, but it's not one of my favorite scores, like just Batman. It's one of my all-time favorite scores.
Well, it just has that iconic, opening Batman theme. When you hear the song, you think of Batman just because you associate it so much with this movie.
No, absolutely, but also just the scores he has throughout the picture. There's so many iconic, memories I have of just hearing that stuff, and just when I'm in the gym too, working out, like I love listening to that music. You should try it. It's amazing. But just the score in this film is so good. I mean, this guy had only scored 2 films, so this is a huge tentpole Hollywood film that he's doing. A lot of pressure on a guy like that at that time, and he just knocked it out of the ballpark, hit a grand slam. It was one of the best scores I've ever heard in my life, and it's my favorite Batman theme I've ever heard. And again, that's not to discredit the Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard theme that we got in Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. I love that Batman theme too. This is again, I think, as you pointed out, this is my first taste of Batman, but I've heard all the music, and this is just my favorite. I love the Batman theme so much in this, and just the score throughout the film. It's very well done, and Danny Elfman just nailed it.
We're also going to be reviewing Superman Returns?
No, Man of Steel. We're not reviewing Superman Returns. No.